Do you actually know all your parts or just the most accessible ones? In today's video, I want to tell you more about somatic parts work, talk about what it is, why it's important, and then bring you through a guided practice to help you explore it. Somatic parts work is a way to have a conversation with different parts of you through the lens of the body. So your body holds everything. It holds your desires, your aversions, it holds things you're scared about and things you're excited about. And sometimes everything lines up. And when that happens, life is pretty easy. We make decisions with ease. But sometimes there are lots of different parts of ourselves that are in conflict, and so things don't line up. And what that often leads to is avoidance or indecision. And that's where somatic parts work comes in. It teaches us how to communicate with different parts of ourselves that may not be in alignment. So let me give you an example. One part of you wants to try something new, and the other part is feeling really scared. And what oftentimes happens in this kind of situation is that either we don't do it, and that part that wanted to feels some regret or frustration, or we do it, but the way we're able to do it is we sort of bully that other part into it. We kind of ignore them and move forward. And then some part of us is feeling really nervous. We might feel really anxious when we try that new thing. But there's another option, and that is to actually get into conversation with the two parts, their wants, their needs, their concerns. When we get into this kind of conversation, we grow empathy and understanding. We start to sink into a deeper understanding of why we're feeling nervous about a thing that another part says is totally fine, and vice versa. And when we build that understanding, we naturally build self-compassion because compassion comes out of understanding. It starts with empathy, that understanding what it's like to be that part, and moves into a kind of friendliness where we can really understand what they're feeling and bring in a little bit of tenderness and warmth, a little bit of encouragement. So in today's guided practice, I'll just bring you through a body scan. If you haven't done that before, we're simply moving through the parts of the body. And I'll ask you to notice sensations. That's that practice of interoception that we started with in our last video. And then we'll notice beyond sensation if there are any thoughts or images or emotions that arise when we're paying attention to this body part. And really, the only thing you need to do in a body scan is to come in with a kind of curiosity. There's no expectation that we're going to figure something out or necessarily learn something. We're just coming into the different parts of our body with a curiosity and a willingness to listen. So when you're ready, you can bring yourself into a comfortable shape. That can be a seat. You can lie down, really take any shape that feels good. And as always, we start by settling the nervous system. So if you're really stressed out right now, practice like this will be difficult, right? Because we're already feeling a little bit anxious or a little bit checked out. So we start with nervous system regulation. And one way to begin is to notice the places in your body that are in contact with support. If you're in a chair, you might notice your seat or your back and let yourself lean in a little bit more. If you're laying down, you can feel the earth beneath you. Just feel the contact between your body and the support beneath it. And as you do that, you might be able to lengthen the exhale. Don't worry so much about the inhale at this point. Just let the exhale be slow and steady. And as you exhale, start to feel your body relax a little bit more into that support beneath it. A regulated nervous system is not always super calm, right? It can be excited, it can be energized, but it's grounded. Let's see if you can feel yourself kind of let go of some of that excess tension that we tend to hold. And again, just drop a little bit more, let your body descend. And when you're ready, bring your awareness into your feet. All you're doing is noticing sensations in your feet. Sensations can be pleasant, they can be unpleasant, they can be neutral. Sometimes they're impossible to articulate because they're so subtle. You don't have to give any words to these sensations. You're just noticing what you notice. And if at any point we move into a body part that doesn't feel comfortable for any reason to pay attention to, you can just go back to the feet. We're starting with sensation, but there may also be spontaneous images or emotions or thoughts that arise as you pay attention to your feet. And then make your way up to the ankles. Give yourself just a few breaths to acknowledge sensations and anything else that arises around the ankles. Sometimes there's a word that sort of describes what we feel in a particular place in the body, but that can be spontaneous. You don't have to go looking for it. And then rise up into the shins and the calves. Notice what's happening in your knees. And your upper legs, from knees to the hips. Maybe there's sensations there. Sometimes there's bracing or relaxation. There might be a word that describes that space or an image that arises. Anything that comes into your awareness is what's happening now. Notice what's happening in the hips and the pelvis. In the low belly and the low back. And again, if at any point you find your way into a place in the body that feels uncomfortable, whether that's an emotional kind of discomfort or a physical discomfort, you are welcome to go to a place that feels more neutral. And then rise up, mid-belly, mid-back. Sometimes the feeling is nothing. There's nothing happening. If you're not aware of a sensation, you might just notice, does the space feel pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral? Rise a little higher, moving into the upper back, across the chest. Through the shoulder blades, on top of the shoulders, and down to the collarbones. Sensations, or images, thoughts, or emotions. Words that describe. Begin to make your way down through the upper arms. And the elbows. Into the forearms. And the wrists. Notice the hands. Sensations or images, thoughts or emotions that arise. Rise back up, make your way into your neck and your throat, and notice what's happening there. And then up to the jaw and the mouth. Notice the cheeks, the eyes, and the forehead. Sensations, images, thoughts, or emotions. Words that describe. Move from the crown of the head to the base of the skull. And then draw an invisible line down the center of your body and bring your attention to the right side. Take in the right side as a whole, noticing sensations, the quality of that side, maybe a word or an image that describes the right side of your body. And whatever arises does not have to make sense. And then move to the left side. Notice similarities or differences between the left and the right. Sensations in the left side, maybe a word or an image that describes it. And then take a moment to reflect, to wander through that body scan and notice if there was anything that arose that felt interesting to you, anything you might still have some curiosity about. Bring yourself back to that space. It could be a compare and contrast between two spaces. It could be one place that draws your curiosity. It could be the right versus the left. So you might choose one space, you might choose two. Come back to wherever you feel curious and give yourself a little more time there. You might begin by noticing the sensation in that place. Get as subtle as you can. And you might notice when you're in that space, what do you feel? Is there an emotion that's present? A quality of some sort? Is there tension or expansion? Contraction or ease? And whatever you're noticing, just say to yourself, tell me more about that. Tell me more about the color blue or the sensation of contraction or the feeling of expansion. Whatever you're noticing, just ask yourself or ask that place in your body, tell me more about that. And just see what spontaneously arises. Sometimes these spaces offer sensations. Sometimes they offer something that feels almost like a regular conversation. There isn't a right or a wrong. It is enough just to be with that place with an open curiosity and a willingness to notice what you notice. So give yourself about 10 more breaths just to be in that space, notice what you notice, and allow for a kind of conversation that may or may not involve words. Take another deep breath in with a long, slow exhale. And ask yourself if there was anything that came in that was interesting, or anything you'd like to remember, or even an action. Maybe what you noticed was a tension you hadn't been aware of earlier, and there's a stretch that you could do after this just to act on what you noticed. Or maybe you noticed a fear place, and there's some way you could bring a little bit more support and tenderness into that place that's feeling nervous. So just notice if there's an action that would be appropriate to respond to what you learned. And if so, imagine yourself in that action. Just notice how it feels, even in your imagination. So we're working more and more with weaving these pillars together. We started this practice with nervous system regulation. We dropped into deep listening and somatic parts work. We brought in self-compassion, and in the end, maybe even dropped into some deep imagery, imagining an action. Working with these pillars are simply ways to know yourself more fully, to drop into the inner landscape so that you can, again, build capacity. We start with nervous system regulation, but what we're really doing is building capacity so that we can do more and more of what we love. I'm Rachel. Subscribe for somatic healing practices and nervous system regulation tools.